So Dr. Corrie, you're spending a lot of time exploring these systems of oppression and evil with youth, and I'm wondering where you find the good news in that.
Yeah, so I've been playing for a while with the story of Jesus and the Canaanite woman. And part of this comes from the fact that I've been reading Scripture through the lens of the Philistines, through the lens of the Canaanites. The thing about Scripture is our Bible has multiple narratives that are competing within them. But one of those narratives is Exodus and conquest, right? We've been liberated, and then we get to go into this land and take it. And now we're saved, and now we get to live with each other and live with God. And we're really big on the Exodus part, but we often forget about the conquest part that's in Scripture. And it's interesting because when you look at Jesus and the Canaanite woman, there weren't really Canaanites anymore at that point. So the author is really intentional about calling her a Canaanite woman. And that's the story that people really don't usually like to preach on because it's so ugly. It's the Jesus was a jerk story, right? Jesus is there, and this woman comes in and begs for him to heal her daughter, and he says, I have come, for the house of Israel, and it's not right for me to give the bread to the dogs. And she says, but even the dogs get the crumbs, right? And then Jesus changes his mind and says, okay, for that you are saved, right? So the interesting thing that's going on in there is if we think about the whole Bible, Jesus came to the house of Israel. Well, the house of Israel living on that land are conquerors. They're the descendants of settlers. So yes, they're oppressed. They're under Roman occupation. But in that moment in time, not only are the folks hanging around Jesus oppressed under Roman occupation, they're also oppressors living on stolen land. And so here Jesus is. The scandal of particularity is that God became incarnate in a man born into the tribe of Israel, who's living under occupation, but also on top of stolen land. So if we take seriously that Jesus is God incarnate and God chose to incarnate God's self in a particular moment in time for a reason, then we have to ask, how come Jesus is incarnate as both oppressor and oppressed? Thank God. That means Jesus is here to save us all, as the settler and as the one living under military occupation, as the person who's been sent to a particular tribe, and as the person who is opening up grace for everyone regardless of tribe. And I use that story to say, okay, we've gone through this assimilation experience and we've realized that some of us are oppressors and some of us are oppressed, and sometimes we're one or the other or both. And God is not here just to liberate those of you who are at the bottom of this totem pole. God is here to liberate you all that were at the very top, who won the game of life. So thank God, we're all going to be saved.